My name is Sydney, and I never thought I would be the one to walk away from my own family. But sometimes, life shows you people's true colors, especially during times that should be happy. I met Owen 2 years ago at a tech conference where I was working as an event planner. He was different from the guys I had dated before, quiet, kind, and really smart. While I was always outgoing like the rest of my family, there was something about his calm nature that pulled me in. He worked as a senior programmer at a big tech company, and I loved how his eyes lit up when he talked about his work. "You two are nothing alike," my younger sister Kate would say when we first started dating. "He barely talks during family dinners." She was 4 years younger than me but acted like she knew everything about love. Our parents, Nick and Leah, weren't any better. "Sweetie, are you sure about him?" my mom would ask as soon as Owen left the room. "He seems so cold." I tried to explain over and over that Owen wasn't cold. He was just quiet. He liked small groups instead of big parties and deep conversations instead of small talk. But my family didn't try to understand him. They saw his silence as rudeness and his calmness as if he was looking down on them. Even though they didn't approve, Owen and I got married last year. It was a small wedding just the way we liked it. My family came, but they spent most of the time making little rude comments about how different our wedding was from theirs. "I don't get why they can't just accept you," I said to Owen one night after another uncomfortable dinner with my family. He gave me that gentle smile and shrugged. "Not everyone has to understand me, Sydney. As long as you do, that's what matters." What I loved most about Owen was how he stayed calm and didn't get involved in drama. He never let other people's opinions bother him. But soon, things would get worse, and even his calmness would be tested. It started with a phone call from my mom last weekend. "Sydney, dear, we're having a family dinner next Tuesday. Just you, though. We know Owen doesn't enjoy big gatherings." My heart started to race. "What do you mean, just me?" Mom paused. Her voice sounded unsure. "Well, we're having some relatives over, and you know how Owen is with crowds. We thought it would be better if what, Mom? If my husband stayed home so I could pretend to be single at a family dinner?" "Sorry, Mom, but I'm not coming without my husband. That's not what marriage means." I hung up before she could answer. My hands were shaking. I was that angry. Later, when I told Owen about the call, he just laughed. But things were about to change fast. A few days later, Kate called one sunny morning. Her voice was full of excitement. I could almost picture her jumping up and down. "Sydney, oh my God. You won't believe it. Olivier proposed last night," she shouted. I felt real happiness in my heart. Even though we had our issues, I loved my sister and knew how much she cared about Olivier. They had been together for over 1 year. He was a high school teacher, friendly and outgoing, just like Kate. "That's amazing, Kate. I'm so happy for you," I said, grabbing my car keys. "Are you at Mom and Dad's?"
Yes.
"Come over. We're already starting to plan." 15 minutes later, I walked into our parents' living room. Kate ran up to hug me, her engagement ring shining in the light. Mom and Dad were smiling, and Olivier stood nearby, looking proud but a little nervous. "Show me the ring," I said. Kate held out her hand proudly, showing me a simple but beautiful diamond ring. We spent the next hour flipping through wedding magazines and talking about possible dates. Then Mom's face turned serious. "The only thing is money's a little tight right now," she said awkwardly. "With Dad's medical bills and all." I saw Kate's smile fade, though she tried to hide it. Without even thinking, I said, "I'll give you $270,000 for the wedding." Kate screamed and threw her arms around me so fast I almost fell over. "Oh my God, Sydney. Thank you. Thank you so much." Even Mom and Dad looked surprised. "That's incredibly kind of you, honey," Mom said, and for once, she actually sounded like she meant it. That night, I told Owen about everything while we were eating dinner in our kitchen. What he said next caught me off guard. "I have an idea," Owen said, putting down his fork. "What if we also surprise them with honeymoon tickets to the Queenstown, New Zealand?" I stared at him in shock. The Queenstown, New Zealand? But that would cost around $50,000. "I know," he said. "I'll use my personal savings." I've been thinking about what you said about trying to build a better relationship with your family. Maybe this will help them see me differently. Tears filled my eyes. This was the man my family thought was cold and rude, offering to spend his own money to give my sister her dream honeymoon. Are you sure? I asked, still surprised by how kind he was. He smiled and pulled me into a hug. Absolutely. But let's keep it a surprise until the wedding. It'll mean more that way. That night, while lying in bed, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Hope. Maybe this would help my family finally understand who Owen really was. Not the quiet, distant man they thought he was, but the kind, generous person I loved so much. The months before Kate's wedding passed quickly. We were busy planning everything. Every weekend brought new choices to make, and Kate always asked for my opinion. It meant a lot to me that she wanted my help. What do you think of this venue? Kate asked one Tuesday, showing me photos of a fancy old warehouse turned into a wedding hall. It's smaller than the country club Mom suggested, but I think it has more charm. I love it, I said honestly. And it'll probably cost half as much. Kate nodded and bit her lip. That's what I thought. Olivier and I want to keep things simple, no more than 50 guests. We're trying to be smart with money. I really admired her for that. Unlike some brides who spend too much, Kate was being smart and down to earth. We spent hours looking at flower designs, tasting food options, and visiting dress stores, always keeping the budget in mind. You don't think it's too plain? She asked while spinning around in a simple, elegant wedding dress that cost much less than what Mom wanted her to spend. It's perfect, I said with a smile. I told Kate not to worry. Sometimes simple is better, I said. Every time we made another decision or crossed something off the list, I felt a little more excited, especially knowing about the surprise Owen and I had planned for her and Olivier. Owen would often ask how the wedding planning was going. He smiled every time I mentioned how Kate casually talked about wanting to travel one day. I can't wait to see their faces, he said one evening. Did you look at the resort photos I sent? That overwater bungalow will blow their minds. His excitement made me fall in love with him all over again. This was my quiet husband, someone my family didn't understand. So happy to make someone else's dream come true. But as the wedding day got closer, something started to bother me. 1 week before the big day, I realized what it was. We still hadn't received an invitation. At first, I tried to ignore it. Kate had been so busy planning everything, and I had helped with almost every detail. Surely, it was just a mistake. Still, something didn't feel right. Owen and I had already picked our outfits, taken time off work, and helped with so much of the planning, but we hadn't actually been invited. After a sleepless night thinking about it, I decided to stop by my parents' house after work and ask Kate directly. When I pulled into the driveway, I saw both of my parents' cars and Kate's old Honda. Good, everyone was home. I grabbed my purse and walked to the front door, still telling myself I was probably just overthinking things. After all, I had helped plan nearly every part of this wedding. There had to be a simple reason the invitation hadn't come. I stepped into the living room and tried to sound relaxed. Hey, Kate. I wanted to ask you something. Owen and I haven't gotten our invitation yet. I'm guessing it got lost in the mail or something. Kate shifted on the couch, looking uncomfortable. She glanced at our parents before replying. Actually, I wanted to give it to you in person, she said, reaching into her purse and handing me a cream-colored envelope. Her smile seemed fake, but I took it, trying not to jump to conclusions. My hands shook a little as I opened it. The invitation was beautiful, fancy writing on thick paper, just like we had picked out together. But as I read it, my stomach dropped. There was only one name on it. Mine. Kate, I said slowly, my voice sounding strange. Why isn't Owen's name on this? She sat up straighter, and her face changed. The awkward look was gone. In its place was a bold, almost proud expression. I recognized that look on Kate's face. It was the same one she had when we were kids, and about to do something she knew was wrong. Well, she said, glancing at our parents like she was looking for support, we decided to keep the guest list really small. Only the closest people.
It felt like someone had slapped me.
Closest people? Owen is my husband. He's your brother-in-law. Come on, Sydney, Kate said, rolling her eyes. We all know he's not really part of the family. He never even tries to be involved. I turned to our parents, hoping, begging, they would step in and say something to stop this madness. But Mom just nodded, and Dad wouldn't even look at me. We support Kate's decision, Mom said firmly. Your husband doesn't enjoy family events anyway. He always looks so unhappy at these gatherings. That's not true, I said, my voice rising. But Dad interrupted me. Be reasonable, Sydney. He'll just sit there looking sad, making everyone feel awkward. Then he added, as if this would settle everything. And besides, this way Kate can save money on the food. Save money, I repeated in disbelief. You're seriously leaving out my husband to save money on one plate of food? It's my wedding, Kate said, crossing her arms. I get to decide who comes. And I don't want him there. He brings down the vibe. He can stay home and code or whatever it is he does. I looked at the 6 people I had trusted my whole life and felt like I didn't even know them anymore. How could they so easily treat my husband like a stranger? The worst part was how prepared they were. They had clearly planned this conversation ahead of time. They had their reasons ready, their faces calm, like it was no big deal. Meanwhile, my husband had been spending his own savings to plan their dream honeymoon. Let me get this straight, I said, my voice low and shaking. You want to leave out my husband to save a little money at the wedding I already gave you $40,000 for? $10,000 that I gave with no strings attached. Kate's confident look faded a bit, but she quickly bounced back. Well, that was different. You're my sister, and Owen is your brother-in-law. I cut her off. But you want to hear the real twist? They all looked at me, confused. Owen has spent the last 2 months secretly planning a honeymoon for you and Olivier. A fully paid trip to the Queenstown, New Zealand. That's $50,000 worth of a luxury resort, overwater bungalow, first-class flights, everything. The room went completely silent. Mom's hand flew to her mouth. Dad's jaw dropped. Kate's face changed fast. First confused, then shocked, and then something worse. I saw it clearly. She was calculating. The Queenstown, New Zealand, she said, her voice suddenly soft and sweet. Oh my God, Sydney. I was just joking about the invitation, Kate said quickly. Of course Owen is invited. Here, let me fix it now. She grabbed her purse and pulled out a pen. I stepped back, feeling sick at how quickly she changed her attitude. Don't bother. The trip is canceled.
What?
No. Kate jumped up. Come on, I said I was kidding. Don't be so sensitive. Sweetheart, Mom said in her softest voice, your sister is just stressed from all the wedding planning. You know how brides can get. Of course we want Owen there. Dad nodded quickly. Absolutely. He's family. I looked at their faces. People I had loved and trusted all my life, and felt nothing but disappointment. Just 8 minutes ago, they had all agreed to leave my husband out. But now, after hearing about an expensive gift, they were suddenly trying to act nice again. You're right, Dad. He is family. And that's exactly why I won't let you treat him like this. I turned and walked out, ignoring all their voices behind me. The drive home was a blur. As soon as I stepped inside, Owen looked at me and knew something was wrong. We sat down on the couch and I told him everything, the missing invitation, their excuses, and how quickly they changed once they heard about the Queenstown, New Zealand trip. Owen listened quietly, his face calm like always. But I could see the pain in his eyes. He had spent months planning that surprise. He was truly excited to give Kate and Olivier something special, and they didn't even want him at the wedding. What do you want to do? He asked gently. Cancel the trip, I said right away. And I'm not going to the wedding. I can't sit there and celebrate with people who treat you like that. Are you sure? He asked. They're your family. I shook my head. You're my family. And I won't let anyone treat you like this. Owen nodded. He opened his laptop and canceled the Queenstown, New Zealand trip within minutes. The money was refunded right away. As I watched the screen, I felt a strange mix of sadness and peace. That evening, my phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Kate kept calling every few minutes. Then came calls from Mom and Dad. I ignored all of them. Then the text messages started. "Please don't do this to me," Kate wrote. "The Queenstown, New Zealand has always been my dream." "Sweetheart, let's talk about this calmly," Mom texted. "Don't make any quick decisions about the trip," Dad added. "Think about your sister's happiness. This is her special day." As I read through their messages, something became very clear.
Not one of them mentioned Owen.
Not one of them said sorry for trying to leave him out of the wedding. Not one of them cared about how much it hurt. Every message was only about one thing: the canceled honeymoon. "You can't cancel the Queenstown, New Zealand trip," Kate texted. "We already told Olivier's parents about it." I let out a cold laugh. Of course they had. They probably started bragging about the fancy trip the minute I left the house. I replied, "The trip is already canceled. The money has been refunded. Don't contact me again." Then, I did something I never thought I would. I blocked Kate's number. Then I blocked Mom and Dad's too, just to be safe. Owen and I spent the rest of the evening watching movies on the couch, trying to feel normal. But the next morning, that peace was shattered. Loud banging came at our front door. Before we could even get up, the door swung open. My parents had used the emergency key I gave them years ago, meant only for real emergencies. Kate stormed in first, then Mom and Dad. They didn't say hello. They didn't explain. "How dare you cancel our honeymoon?" Kate screamed, her face red with anger. "You need to put it back right now." "Calm down," Owen said, standing up. "You can't just barge into our house." They ignored him, like he didn't even exist. "Do you know how embarrassing this is?" Mom snapped. "We already told everyone about the Queenstown, New Zealand." "Fix this right now," Dad ordered, pointing at me. "Call whoever you need to call, and book the trip again." I stood firm, even though my heart was pounding. I'm not giving expensive gifts to people who don't respect me or my husband. The trip is canceled. That's final. Kate's face twisted with anger. "You know what? Don't come to my wedding at all. You're not invited anymore. I don't want you there." "Kate." Owen tried to speak, but she cut him off. "Shut up. This is all your fault. Ever since Sydney married you, she's changed. She used to be fun. She used to be normal." I took a deep breath and spoke clearly. "You want to talk about money? Fine. Let's talk about the $40,000 I gave you for this wedding." Kate's face turned pale. Mom and Dad stopped mumbling. "That's right," I said. $40,000 that I can legally ask to be returned, since you've uninvited me from the wedding. That's how gifts work, Kate. If the event they were given for doesn't happen, the giver has the right to take it back." You wouldn't," Kate stammered, all her fake confidence suddenly gone. "I wouldn't," I said. "You can keep the money. Think of it as your wedding gift from your boring, unfun sister who doesn't even want to come to your wedding." "But the Queenstown, New Zealand," Kate's voice cracked. "The Queenstown, New Zealand trip was never yours," I said firmly. "It was a surprise gift from the man you couldn't even bother to invite. The man you've all treated like a stranger for years. Well, congratulations. You finally pushed both of us away for good." Kate's face fell, and she burst into tears. "But I've dreamed of going to the Queenstown, New Zealand my whole life. It's not fair." Mom and Dad rushed to comfort her, just like they always did when we were kids, and she didn't get what she wanted. They both glared at me as they helped her toward the door. I just stood there watching them go. I didn't feel sad. I didn't feel guilty. I just felt tired of always being the one left out, tired of how they treated Owen, tired of how selfish they always were. Once the door shut behind them, the house was quiet again. Owen came up behind me and wrapped his arms around my waist. I leaned into him, feeling safe and calm in his arms. "I'm so tired," I whispered. "Tired of their selfishness. Tired of how they treat you, how they treat us." "I know," he said gently, kissing the top of my head. I turned around and gave him a small smile. "You know what? Let's do something with that refunded money. Something for us." "What do you have in mind?" We've been talking about getting a new car. That $50,000 would be a perfect down payment. Owen smiled. I've actually already been looking at some cars. Want to go shopping? 1 week later, we were driving home in our brand new hybrid SUV. It was beautiful, smart, and most of all, it was ours. It felt like a symbol of our new life, our own priorities, and our future. As I ran my hand across the smooth dashboard, I knew we had made the right choice. The day of Kate's wedding came and went. I made sure to stay busy. Owen and I went for a long drive along the coast, had lunch at a quiet seaside restaurant, and did our best not to think about what was happening back in town. But that evening, when we got home, I gave in to curiosity. I opened Instagram and went to Kate's page. The wedding photos were already posted, taken by a professional, edited to look perfect. Everything looked picture perfect on the outside. But as I scrolled through them, I noticed something strange. Kate's smile never quite reached her eyes. In every photo, even the ones that were supposed to be natural and candid, she looked distracted, uneasy, like someone trying too hard to look happy. 6 days later, my phone rang. It was Aunt Brittany, my mom's younger sister, and the only one in the family who ever treated me with real kindness. I need to tell you something about the wedding, Aunt Brittany said. Her voice was serious. Your mom gave a speech, one of those subtle but mean ones she's so good at. She talked about how families should stay together and how some people get too busy with their own lives to remember their responsibilities. Then she said that greed can destroy family bonds. I felt my chest tighten. Let me guess, everyone knew exactly who she meant? Oh, honey, it was as obvious as throwing a rock through a window. The whole room felt awkward. Even some of Olivier's relatives were whispering, wondering what was going on. I took a deep breath and told Aunt Brittany everything. How Owen wasn't invited. The cancelled Queenstown, New Zealand trip. Kate's meltdown. All of it. When I finished, there was a long silence. You did the right thing, she finally said, her voice strong. I've seen how they've treated Owen for years, like he doesn't belong. It's wrong, and it's not your fault. Your mother and Kate have always needed everything their way. Tears filled my eyes. Thank you, Aunt Brittany. That means more than you know. After we hung up, I sat in the backyard for a long time, watching the sun go down. Owen came out with 2 glasses of wine. Penny for your thoughts? He asked, sitting beside me. I was just thinking about family, I said, taking a sip, and how sometimes the hardest choices are the right ones. Do you think you'll ever talk to them again? He asked gently. Honestly, I don't know. Maybe if they really understand what they did wrong and try to change. But I'm not waiting for that. I'm not chasing after them anymore. Owen reached over and held my hand. No matter what happens, we'll face it together, he said. I squeezed his hand, thinking about everything we'd been through. Sometimes it takes a hard moment to show you what really matters and who truly stands by your side. My family may have seen Owen as the outsider, the one who didn't belong. But they were wrong. He was the one who showed what real family looks like: loyalty, respect, kindness. As we sat there watching the sky turn from orange to purple, then to dark blue, I felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Peace. Our new car sat in the driveway, a reminder of our fresh start. Our home, now free from all the noise and drama, finally felt calm. And for the first time in years, I knew we were exactly where we were meant to be.